Okay, picture this. It's the night of March 31st, 2006. A 27-year-old medical student, a guy named Brian Shaffer, walks into a bar. Simple enough, right? Well, security cameras saw him go in, but not a single camera ever saw him come out. So how on earth did he pull off what looks like an impossible vanishing act? And that's really the heart of this entire thing, isn't it? It's like a real-life locked room mystery. Every single piece of evidence we have points to one conclusion. Brian Shaffer walked into the Ugly Tuna Saloona and just, well, ceased to exist on camera. So how is that even possible? To even begin to wrap our heads around this puzzle, we have to understand the man at the center of it, and the night he just disappeared. This is where one of the most baffling missing person cases in recent memory really kicks off. So let's talk about Brian. You gotta understand, he was a promising med student at Ohio State. He was smart, he was on a great track, and he was even planning to propose to his girlfriend, Alexis. He had this really bright future ahead of him. But he was also carrying this immense grief. His mother had just died only a few weeks before. So this night out, it was supposed to be a break from all of that. Okay, so this timeline is absolutely crucial. At 1:15 a.m., the camera clocks him walking in. But the key moment, the one that everything hinges on, happens at 1:55 a.m. He's right there on camera, standing at the top of the escalator, which is the only public exit. He's talking to two women, he says goodbye, and then he turns away from the exit and walks back into the bar. That is the last confirmed positive sighting of Brian Shaffer. Just 5 minutes later, the lights come on and the bar closes. So what did the cameras actually see? And maybe more importantly, what did they miss? Let's, break down the actual layout of this bar and its surveillance system, because that's where this whole thing gets really weird. See, here's the big problem that investigators ran into right away. The bar was on the second floor of a building. The only public way in or out was this one long escalator. You ride it up to get in, you ride it down to get out. It basically created a perfect choke point for a security camera to watch. So, you can imagine, investigators thought, okay, this is going to be easy. They checked the footage for that main escalator. Nothing. So they moved on. They pulled footage from cameras covering every other possibility you can think of. The fire doors, which, by the way, were alarmed, all the service entrances, even cameras from the businesses next door. Every single potential way out was covered. After meticulously reviewing every single second of tape from every single possible angle, the number of times Brian Shaffer was seen leaving that building was this. 0. Nothing. He was seen going in, clear as day. But he was never, ever seen coming out. It was like he walked into a camera's blind spot and just vanished from reality itself. So once the digital trail went completely cold, a massive physical search began. But as investigators were about to find out, this would only make the mystery even deeper. Police left no stone unturned. They literally tore the bar apart, looking for any clue, any hint of what happened. They combed through this huge, active construction site that was right next door. A chaotic mess of materials and machinery. They even dragged the nearby river. And what did they find? Absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, back at his apartment, everything was totally normal. His wallet, his keys, even his passport were all there. And maybe most importantly, his bank accounts were never touched. Not once. And just when you think this story can't get any more tragic, it does. Brian's dad, Randy, he dedicated every second of his life to finding his son. He was relentless, the public face of the whole search. Then in 2008, 2 years after Brian vanished, Randy was killed in a freak accident while clearing storm debris in his yard. Just like that, Brian's brother had lost his entire immediate family. It's just heartbreaking. So the investigation had hit a dead end on every physical lead. With no evidence, no witnesses, and no body, all that was left were theories. And over the years, 3 main ideas have kind of surfaced to try and explain the unexplainable. Let's break them down. So the first theory is that Brian just chose to disappear. Maybe the grief over his mom's death was just too much to handle, and he wanted to start a completely new life. But the flaw here is a big one. He left behind a girlfriend that he absolutely adored and was literally about to propose to. He left his car, his money, his passport. It doesn't add up for someone with such strong ties to his life. Okay, so what about foul play? Could someone have hurt Brian inside the bar? This is a really popular theory. But again, we just smash right into a brick wall. An exhaustive forensic search of the entire building turned up no signs of a struggle, No blood, no body, absolutely zero physical evidence that a crime was ever committed in there. All right, this last one is probably the theory you hear the most, the one that law enforcement has kind of leaned into. The idea is that Brian somehow found an unmonitored exit, maybe through that construction site next door, and then had some kind of fatal accident. But the flaw is once again a total lack of evidence. Massive, repeated searches of that site and all the areas around it turned up absolutely no trace of him. Not a shoe, not a piece of clothing, nothing. So where does that leave us today? Well, after years and years of investigation, of public speculation, and just so much heartbreak, the case of Brian Shaffer remains frozen in that one impossible moment. Officially, the hard truth is, not much has changed. The Ugly Tuna Saloona is long gone now, but Brian Shaffer's case file is still very much active. To this day, he is officially classified as a missing person. No one has ever been arrested, and no body has ever been found. And this isn't some cold case just collecting dust on a shelf. It continues to have a very real and very painful impact. Just this year, it was back in the headlines when a lawsuit was filed because of accusations being thrown around by online sleuths. It's just a powerful reminder that behind all the theories, there are real people whose lives have been completely and forever altered by this. Which brings us right back to that central mind-bending paradox. We trust video. We think of it as objective reality. But in this case, the footage shows us a reality that seems physically impossible. So the ultimate question isn't just about what happened to Brian Shaffer. It's if the cameras really did capture everything except his exit, then where exactly did the fabric of reality tear?